Hello, my friends, and welcome back. Today, we're going to be answering the age-old question, does obesity help with joint pain? I think we all know the obvious answer to that one. Of course it does, stupid. We're also going to be taking a look at some childhood obesity stories. Both clips will be from FatSapphicBro. Let us proceed with the applying of comb to mustache.
This person says, I involuntarily lost weight through the pandemic, and it's made my joints less stable.
I'm guessing if they involuntarily lost weight, that they weren't very overweight to begin with?
Heads. Yeah, absolutely. I have made videos about this before. When you have EDS or other hypermobility in your joints, it is actually better to be a little bit on the heavier side.
Bruh.
What? Dude, I don't give a crap if you got heads, tails, or in between. It's not better for your joints to be on the heavier side. Now, what exactly is your idea of on the heavier side? We all have very different definitions of a little.
Because it helps to stabilize your joints more. I have a lot of friends diagnosed with EDS or other hypermobile conditions. I have some hypermobility in some of my joints as well. And for a lot of my friends, they have directly been told by their doctors, do not lose weight.
Bruh.
What? So some of your friends have EDS, which is some sort of hypermobility issue, and they've been told by their doctors directly, you said, not through some sort of intermediary. The doctors actually spoke directly to the patient. I know, it's unheard of. But they told them, do not lose weight. This will be bad for your joints. This is crazy. These must have been normal-sized people who have, like, restrictive ED problems or something if their doctor's like, yo, don't lose weight. So you're telling me that when you get to a certain level, gravity actually works in reverse, and the joints in the human body that are clearly meant to only support normal levels of weight actually increase in efficacy the more stress they're under?
Try to stay a little bit heavier because it helps to stabilize your joints.
Stabilize them how? By crushing them into dust? What are you talking about? Do you know what your joints are made out of? In what bizarro world could you think that excess pressure on your joints is good? I don't care if somebody wrote a paper one time, like, literally, this is so silly. It's just so silly. Like, human beings, classically, are meant to be within a certain weight range, you know? You're not meant to go above a certain weight. So if you do stuff that's well beyond the norm, it's honestly impressive that the human body can sustain it. Like, I've seen people on my 600-pound life and heavier that are still alive for a little while. And it's amazing when they are alive. Like I've said before, just imagining somebody who is the size of Tammy Slayton, just imagining her normal human-sized skeleton underneath all that excess stuff. But if you could get a good look at that skeleton and the joints, you would see that they were throbbing and they were in constant inflammation, constant pain. I bet that there's not a human being on earth that knows joint pain like somebody that's incredibly morbidly obese. Except for me. I was born with glass bones and paper skin, and every day it's the heart attacks that wake me up in the morning.
It's a very common belief that being bigger means that you have more joint pain, and that is absolutely false. Now,
Doug, are you smoking rock, my friend? What are you talking about? Dude, there needs no science to be done, my friend. We don't need to do a study, okay? Gravity exists and is real. I could just stand here right now and just pick up 100-pound weight over my head, and all of a sudden my damn legs hurt, like my knees hurt, my ankles hurt, my toes hurt from stabilizing this weight up over my head, or I could hang the weight on my sides and carry it, and all of a sudden I feel increased pressure in my feet, legs, and spine. What are you on about? As our friends in the UK would say, that's fucking bullshit. Oh wait, no, that's not what they would say. That's what I would say. They would say, that's a load of bollocks, mate.
does that mean that every single heavy person will never have joint pain? No, there are some people that are going to have joint pain at a heavier size, but that does not mean that a blanket statement that being heavier is bad for your joints is correct. That's not a true statement.
Yeah, it is. When you get to be a certain weight, every single one of you has joint pain. Let me guess, you just so happen to have joint pain in a complete coincidence for some other condition, right? You're trying to say that all obese people don't experience joint pain? So what is causing yours? It's the fibromyalgia, isn't it? It's every other thing but the obesity. I guarantee you that you cannot find one person who is 100 pounds overweight or more who does not have joint pain.
For some people, yes, being heavier might affect their joints. But
For some people, it might hurt your joints to be heavier. But for some people, reverse gravity happens. So when you have more weight pushing down on your joints and your frame, it actually helps it. Yeah. Your joints that are hypermobile, which means like they move around too much, all that excess weight pushing down on them to where like if you step the wrong direction just a little bit, you'll have all kinds of pressure in the wrong way. Yeah, that's really good for them. It keeps the joints guessing. You want to confuse the joints, you know? You want to lift with your spine and your groin. Leave your legs out of it. You got to confuse the joints, baby.
for a lot of us, being heavier does not harm our joints, and in fact, can be a protective factor for our joints.
Your joints don't hurt, and your joints are actually protected with some sort of adipose, adamantium tissue layer.
Thanks for adding to this.
No, thank you for adding to this. I learned a lot today. I learned that obesity, besides being a superpower, can enable you to violate the laws of thermodynamics and gravity on this very planet. Now, FatSapphicBro is going to regale us with tales of childhood obesity.
Person says, honestly, having a healthy relationship with food is one of my biggest goals in life. Dieting all through adolescence was a nightmare. I super agree with you. I think that's the hardest thing that a lot of people don't understand. If you didn't grow up fat and you don't necessarily understand, like, the forced dieting started for me around, I don't know, maybe second grade, third grade-ish. But it's like, there has never been a time where doctors and people didn't talk about how big I was.
Alright, so a common theme here. You've never been thin.
I was very tall very early. At like fourth grade, I was like 5'7", and I've always been really, really big. And so I have no memories of a time where people were not commenting on my body size.
Okay, so you've always had a problem. And perhaps it's time to admit that what you've done thus far is not working. Maybe it's time to try a different approach, something radical, something where we don't make excuses and we hold ourselves accountable, where we just eat healthy and exercise and the weight just comes off. And when we overeat or binge, we hold ourselves accountable. We don't beat ourselves and restrict so much that we go back and overdo it and then overeat. That would be a very unhealthy and disordered relationship with food. No, what we do is change the kinds of food that we eat so that we stop craving the unhealthy food eventually. You can't just have a little bit of garbage food sometimes. It's too addictive. You have to give it up and eventually you'll stop craving it like any other drug.
And telling me that I needed to make my body size smaller.
Is that what they said to you? That sounds like a very bizarre doctor you went to. He's like, you need to make your body size smaller. You're like, what? The fuck? What does that mean? You mean I need to lose weight? Is that what you're trying to say, Doc? Jesus, why are you speaking in riddles? I come in here for a freaking exam, I get Dr. Seuss. What is this?
And I did the forced diets that my parents would put me on for years.
For years. So, no, you didn't do them then. So you followed the protocols of these diets to a T for years. And you have never known what it's like to be in any body other than a larger body. So you have never successfully lost weight, is what you're saying. You've never stuck to something or stopped eating all those garbage foods long enough to see the results. So you should really listen to those of us that have been on both sides of the fence, because we're speaking from a place of experience. If I tell you that the joint pain went away when I lost weight, would you believe me? I would hope so. I would hope that you wouldn't be so deluded as to put it through your own filter and be like, this is fat phobia, and to truly believe that within your mind that somebody's trying to hurt you just by showing you the uncomfortable truth that can actually help you.
And it was terrible. And it really sucks being a middle schooler and a high schooler taking Slim Fast to school every day.
Okay, so they tried to get you to lose weight by having you do Slim Fast. You clearly were eating all kinds of other food in addition to the Slim Fast. And it traumatized you to such a degree that I saw you drinking a protein shake in a video just a few moments ago. I was watching a video of them eating, and their breakfast was 2 blueberry frozen waffles and a protein shake.
A couple Eggo waffles. So 2 blueberry Eggo waffles and my Premier Protein.
Bruh.
So you were so traumatized by the Slim Fast that you put off any sort of dieting in the future. No, it sounds like you're still holding on to that 90s idea of what dieting is, or that old school nonsense idea of diet shakes and rice cakes and all this nonsense. Even though that failed you and you were traumatized by it, to this day you still eat protein shakes.
And the damage that does to you.
What damage did it do to you? So what are you saying is in these Slim Fast drinks? They got lead in there? Damaged you how? Emotionally? What do you call it? Like emotions and shit, dog? Like that burning, stinging feeling in here that's like feelings?
It's very long lasting, and we end up not developing healthy relationships with food because we're taught to ignore our hunger signals. We're taught to not really honor our full signals as well.
You're taught to ignore your hunger signals. When did that part happen? If you've been overweight your whole life and you were put on a diet when you were young and given Slim Fast drinks and stuff, how is it that you were taught to ignore your hunger signals? If you never successfully lost weight, then you never ignored your hunger signals for 1 second. You were just like secretly eating when your parents weren't around. Your parents were trying to help you. They're like, yo, this is a big problem. You're eating yourself into an early grave. And you're like, yeah, okay, I'll do it. And then you drank the Slim Fast drink and then also went to Taco Bell when nobody knew or whatever. So how can you blame restrictive diets for causing you to have a damaged relationship with food that exists to this day? You never did the diet.
And it's just, it's really difficult. And I think that combined with, I come from, I'm a second generation immigrant. So my mother was born here, but my father was not. And so I come from a very different culture, and we very much got the messaging as children.
You come from a different culture? No offense, but you sound the most American that I have ever heard in my life. No offense to Americans, I am one myself. I love us.
To clean our plates. Like, you eat everything on your plate because there are starving children in other countries that can't eat.
So they told you to clean your plate, but then they also had you on a diet? Something isn't adding up here, my friend. I think you're not being honest.
Anyway, so in between the forced dieting and the forced cleaning of our plates.
What? Dude, knock it off. Homie, you ain't telling me right now that they had you on a diet in the morning and then in the evening they're like, you better finish that plate. Like, wouldn't they give you a smaller plate if they thought that you were eating too much, to the point of even putting you on a diet where you drink those drinks and stuff? That's pretty extreme. So I would imagine before that, and in addition to that, they would have attempted portion control. They're like, you are way too big. In our culture, this is unacceptable. As you could tell from this very ambiguous accent that I am currently doing, you don't know where I'm from. In that culture, we finish our plate. And then, what accent was that? That was like 5 things in one. But we're very confused in our country of Nicaraguastan.
Which together made absolutely no fucking sense.
Yeah, that would be pretty confusing. Yeah. They're like, hey, you need to lose weight. And then they're also shoving food into your face simultaneously? Oh, geez, Mom and Dad, you're really confusing me here. You're really damaging my relationship with food and giving me disordered thought patterns that'll sit with me for the rest of my life, and it'll be your fault.
I ended up having a really screwed relationship with food for most of my life.
What does your relationship with food look like now? Do you consider this a good one?
That I am still working on totally healing.
Healing, because they put you on a diet when you were a kid, and you didn't succeed at it. So if you don't just eat whatever you want indiscriminately all the time, and you have just one thought of restriction, this will send you spiraling down a rabbit hole of disordered thought patterns. I know a lot of people seem to have this idea that, like, if I restrict myself for a little while, then I will start binging all crazy or whatever. And some people might do that, but it's because you can't just have a little bit of sugar and processed carbs, homie. You can't just have a little bit of cocaine. I'll just do it on the weekends. It's too fun. It's too good. You have to just stop doing it altogether. So for those of you that are struggling with that, where like you stop eating for a little bit, you consider it your restriction phase, and then when you do eat, you just go completely off the rails, it's because of the kind of food that you have in your house. You need to have only whole foods in your house. No sugar, no processed carbs. When you eat a meal, make sure there's plenty of protein, vegetables and or fruit, and a little bit of healthy carbs. I would go low carb if I were trying to lose weight. Make sure you eat until you are full and then stop. Stop eating for like 30 minutes and you will feel full. It takes about 20 minutes to feel full after you eat. So if you eat super fast, you're gonna shove a lot more into your mouth before you even realize what's going on. Take it slow and stop after the amount that you put on your plate to eat is consumed. Then wait for the fullness to come, drink a big old glass of water or two if you have to. If you struggle with feeling full to begin with, you can try drinking a big old glass of water or two before you eat.
So it is a long journey because we get fucked up in our formative years, and those years are super, super important.
Okay, but you know this, right? The fact that you say all of these things means that you are consciously aware of them, meaning that you can rise above them. When you say the words out loud, I have a lot of issues because of all the stuff that happened to me in childhood. That means you have the capability to overcome those issues and you're just not doing it. You know what's wrong. I have a lot of issues that I need to overcome from my childhood. So you can no longer use that as an excuse. You know why you're doing what you do, and yet you continue to do it. Therefore, you're no longer coming from a place of ignorance, and the only thing that's stopping you from working on these issues is yourself. Did you hear the ice maker just now? Once you want to change, all that's left to do is work on it. The hardest part for most is authentically wanting to change.
So I am sorry that you are in the same situation. Know that you are not alone. I know that you are not the only one who has said similar things to this in my comments before. It's a hard one, for sure. Thank you for your vulnerability and sharing as well.
The idea that being put on a diet as a child is currently causing you to lose weight and messing up your entire world right now is a big old load of nonsense and nothing but an excuse. And also important is the fact that you never successfully completed any of these diets or lost any weight. So I don't know how they would cause you to have a damaged relationship with food. You slightly partook in some of the diet activities while your family was around, and then obviously ate when they weren't around, otherwise you would have lost weight. So you learned how to sneak behind your parents' back, and then you said that you were traumatized by this and use it as an excuse for your current state of being to this day. I don't believe that FatSapphicBro's parents put them on a diet and simultaneously told them to clean their plate, as they say. And I also believe that once you're conscious of what is causing you to have these issues, you can overcome it. And if you don't, that's a choice that you're consciously making. You're choosing to continue to have the unhealthy relationship with food that you had spanning all the way back to childhood that you never once gave a serious attempt at correcting. Anyway, that about does it. Thanks for watching, commenting, liking, and subscribing. And I'll see you in the next one.